I have Ryan Adams from the Adams Group in Texas, Houston, Texas. And he's going to be talking about all things becoming the mayor of your geographic farm and all the things that he's been doing there in Houston. Ryan, give us a minute rundown of who you are, how long you've been in the business, how'd you end up in Houston? Tell us what you're doing.
So I'm in Houston, Texas. I've been in, this is my 7th year in real estate. I run a team down here. I'm still in heavy production. Finally moved into listings, pretty much listings only. Been in the Tom Ferry ecosystem since I started in real estate. I coach with Tom Ferry.
How long have you been licensed?
7 years.
7 years. Okay.
Started January 2017.
And when did you add the first person to your team?
Basically when I couldn't handle the leads. I started off because I actually lived in Newport Beach, California before I came here. I grew up in Virginia, went to college at Texas A&M University, and then we're here for probably 8 years, did some investing stuff or whatever, but then moved to Newport Beach, California for a different job, was there for 8 years, had our first 2 kids, and then we moved back to be close to family. And when I came back, I was trying to decide if I was going to go into wealth management, commercial real estate, residential real estate, or insurance. And residential real estate was the one where it's like, my wife was pregnant with our 3rd kid. It was like, I could probably get a paycheck quicker. And so it was my least favorite choice, but I did it. And then here I am.
And look at you now. I love it. I love it. So what size is your team?
We've got 6 agents, 3 full-time support staff, and 3 VAs.
Very good. And what company are you with?
Real. Okay. I am with Real. Moved over about a year ago.
Got it. So, all right. Now, as I said earlier, I went through all my old Tom Ferry Summit books to think about doing something in this how-to series and what I wanted it to look like. And I just wanted to bring people that had excelled at a specific thing in their market and in their business that made them a lot of deals. And so you had been featured a couple of years ago at the Tom X and a case study, and I saw you in there and I'm like, okay, geofarming, that is an area that everybody needs to really actually go back and look into, possibly creating and doing in their business right now, because we need listings. And it's a really deep conversation. There's a lot of layers to geographic farming. I still refer people back to Tom's YouTube videos, Geographic Farming 1 and Geographic Farming Part 2. I refer everybody back to those. They're probably 10 years old now, but they still apply because he talks about the layering effect of all the different things that you can do that tie into the geo farm. So I'm going to let you take it away, present, do your thing, screen share, show us slides, whatever you want to do, and then we'll open it up to Q&A.
And to give you the backstory of kind of what got me into farming, and I don't think farming's for everybody because it is a lot of hard work, and to me, it's one of those lead sources. If you look at them, I think your sphere is similar to this, but still, this is harder to me than even your sphere. But what I will say, and this is my experience, and again, I will say this too, because I've talked to a lot of people about farming. Every market is different, and every community is different. And I don't remember who came up with the title of, when we did this case study on becoming the mayor of your farm, but that for me fits my personality really well. And my community kind of almost invites or provides an opportunity for someone being able to be a mayor. So I saw a really actually. So here's how it happened. I'm doing my business plan with my coach, and I'm going through the SWOT analysis, and I get to the opportunity section, and I'm like filling it out, brainstorming, thinking through, and I'm like, really, farming could be a phenomenal opportunity here. And so I began to dive into it. And I did what most real estate agents do, which is do not plan accordingly and just start doing something, and failed a lot. So when I
spent a lot of money doing it.
Exactly. So I'm going to tell you that I often thought, like, if I could kind of do this this slideshow, I've revised and done whatever, but if I could redo it, I wish I could just put, here's all the things I failed at. And I didn't do that. I'd kind of show you all the successes, but there's so many that I failed at, so much money I spent on things that didn't work. When I say the word farming for everyone, what's the first thing you think of as far as like, all right, if I want to start a farm, what am I going to go do right now? What is the first thing everybody thinks of? Door knocking. Okay. Anybody else? Mailers. That's what I thought. Okay. Postcards. That's door knocking. Whoever said door knocking, that's impressive because I don't think of that as first. I usually try to think of that as the last thing, but postcards, everybody thinks, okay, I'm going to go make this amazing postcard and I'm going to mail it out. And then people are just going to call me and go, oh my gosh, I saw your postcard. Come list my house. And I did. So that's what I did. I was like, all right, I'm going to do postcards. And I did postcards and I spent thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars and I never got a call back. By the way, have you guys ever read this book, Ninja Selling? Yvonne, have you read it?
Yes.
Ninja Selling. He has ratios in here, which I'm very curious if they're accurate, but he says, because I feel like I hear in the ecosystem better numbers, but he says cold direct mail, the conversion ratio is 2,000 to 1. Mine would be way worse than that, I would say. I don't know the answer. But all that say, that's how I started. And I'm actually give you some first before I get into it. And so it's evolved to that. And well, let me give you the ending picture, and then I'll tell you what happened from where I started to where it is today. In 2023, we ended the year with a $415,000 return in GCI just from farming. We spent $45,000. So what is that? 9 times, 10 times ROI.
Nice return.
And the other great part of it too is if you live in your farm and the majority of your sphere and past clients are in that, you kind of get to kill 2 birds with 1 stone when you're doing some of this farming stuff. So I get to count some of the ROI, the money that I'm spending on that. Really, a lot of that's hitting up my SY. Now, let's go to the first year. Before I get into it as well, I'm going to show you my farm because it'll help you understand it. Give me 1 second. Share.
While you're looking at that, did you do all of the stats of you want a 6% return? And
yes, I did.
You did the formula. Okay. So
yes,
when you're looking at a farm, you go, okay, I'm going to pick 1,000 people and I'm going to look at that 1,000 in the MLS or talk to my title company and say, is there a 6% or more return or changeover churn in this area?
Yeah. So I just looked at the area that I'm in. And it was about 7 to 8% when I looked into it. I got lucky, but like, had it not been that, I don't know what I would do. Because I've had a lot of people that have asked that question because they're like 3%. I mean, and again, these last 2 years with transactions being down so much, it's maybe a different ball game with that. But I just kind of got lucky that my farm had that percentage going for it. So,
can you screen share? Yeah, there you go.
All right. So are you seeing my farm?
Yes.
Okay. So this is my farm. It's Sienna, Texas. It's just about 15 minutes south of Houston, mostly families. It's a suburb, really it's a master built community built for outside of Houston. I think it's ranked number 1 in Texas now. It was built 24 years ago. They've got about 6,000 more homes ago. Now we actually have 2 high schools, 4 middle schools since I did this slide, and 7 elementary schools. So it's a huge farm. What I have done in my farming is I have tiers of my farming. So I have kind of a niche farm, which I do most of my activities to. And maybe you think about it like your database. You tier your database up and you go, hey, my top, the Buffini system, what is that? The A's get this, the B's get this, and the C's get that. That's kind of how I've done it. Whereas like the 12,000 homes, I'm pretty much mainly doing digital farming to the 12,000, but to about 5,000, I'm doing the standard, stuff. And then going down to my niche, it would probably about 500 homes. And I'm doing a lot of stuff for that. All right. So that's that. Here was my first year. I basically only sent postcards. I was involved in the community. I've got 3 kids. I go to church. I go to the gym. I'm in a bourbon club. I'm in a cornhole league. I continued my involvement in the community, but that was basically what I did. And I did open houses. I literally only did about 9 for the year. So I wanted to be honest on what I did. I spent $4,300 for the year, expecting like 10 listings, and I got 0, nothing. First year, absolutely nothing. Came back, and Yvonne is the best at SOPs. And my coach was like, we need to write an SOP on this and then figure out what works and then slowly scale up. And so literally what you're going to see today is starting at year one and everything that I've scaled up to be. And one really new cool thing that I've got coming up that'll be happening probably by the beginning of next year. And I'll share what that is at the end. All right. So there we go. Year two got a little bit better. I decided, all right, I'm going to do, my coach was like, dude, why are you just doing it once a month? We need to like at least do a smaller amount, but do it more frequent. So we're doing 2 times a month, and we did it EDDM, 1,000 cards. I got more involved with the community. I sponsored 2 local events. I did 14 opens, basically did an open house once a month for the year. But then when I did the open house, I put up 50 open house signs, did some door knocking beforehand, put some stuff on the Facebook groups, spent about 16,000, and I ended up getting 38,000. So then it was like, oh man, into year 2, I'm seeing it. And then year 3 was the big, this is where I saw the most results. I mean, like I was like, oh man, this is working. We pushed up our EDDM a little bit, sponsored 6 neighborhood events, did 22 open houses for the year, started doing quarterly advertised market reports just on our neighborhood on YouTube, and then targeted them with ad spend, put them on local Facebook groups as well, going, hey, here's what's happening in our neighborhood. Started some social media targeting, got more heavily involved in the community, invested 38,000 that year. Really, it was the increase in the EDDM spend and the additional events. We got 297,000 back that year. And then, as I told you, what happened for last year, went to 8 events. We started doing 8 mega open houses, which was like kind of a whole weekend thing. We added ISA's circle dialing on our listings, did a monthly market report on YouTube, and did more social media retargeting. Now we have the database of these people with names, emails, and so we could retarget them on all that stuff. Spent 45 and got 415. We're already probably at about close to 400 in 2024. And I'll tell you the one thing that has been for those of you like, man, I want to the end result go, like, here's what I pictured my farm looking like. It was so many hard moments and years of not getting and working so hard for it, to where now, I mean, this past week, I'm getting 3 come list me calls. This past week, I didn't know any one of the people that called, but they had heard of me and said I needed to call them. And when you get to that point, you're like, man, this is really working. I can't help but continue to double down on this. And honestly,
back up just 1 second. So you started, year 1 was a complete like loss, and
yes.
then 2, 3, and now 4 years in, adding, layering, doing another thing every year. Yep. Now you have, the phone is ringing to you.
100%. I mean, it's the great part. I have stuff coming in I can't even handle it. I have to give it to my team, but it is, I mean, every week on average for sure, because we'll probably do 30 to 40 this year that are purely focused on, purely came from the farm. That's not my sphere of past clients. Like, these are people, I have no idea who they're at. And what's really interesting, I get a lot of calls from people who are like, because by the way, in my neighborhood, there's 500 other realtors that live in my neighborhood. And 4 years ago, when I started actually tracking it, I was number 65 realtor who's done, with the amount of business in the neighborhood. Last year was the first year we became number 1, and this year we're still leading as number 1. And what I find amazing is none of these other realtors are doing postcards, are doing events, I'm like, what? How could they be here this long and have never done anything? And then our most recent thing that we're doing, and I'll show you a picture of it, is, and again, this is something that no one in our neighborhood has done. Now again, what I'm showing you has been layers added, so don't go do this at all. But we are moving our office to, there's one major strip road, 4-way highway that goes right through the heart of our whole neighborhood. There's not one real estate office in the heart of our farm. and we are moving our office to that. So this is when it went by there this morning, we're building this out. We're going to put the Adams group there, and it's right on the main drag of our neighborhood. Not one other office is there. So I'm taking a bit. I mean, this is that right there is going to cost me, $6,500 a month plus the build out will be $60K. But we're going to do webinars there. We're going to do seller webinars. We're going to do like, hey, how do you build a pool? We're holding all of our events there. We're doing an event every month starting next year, one event every single month. So,
And you're leasing that.
Yes, I tried. Because there really was not a way to buy it. I wish I could have bought it, but there really is not a way to buy it. But yes.
But it's an anomaly, it sounds like, that you found a location in your area, in your farm, that did not have a real estate office somewhere.
There's not one. There's not one, which is crazy.
Yeah.
So anyway,
I'm thinking of you right now, Matt Tursick. So good. Excellent. This is great. So you guys, if you have questions, you can put them in the chat. I'll monitor those. Otherwise, we'll hold them until Ryan is done. Go for it. Keep going.
So you saw how and again, stop me if you. I want this to be as interactive as possible. So stop me if you have questions. But you saw the process of the major things that we have increased. But I kind of wanted to give you some examples of what those actually look like. So, and that, by the way, this thing over here, this has been a great little selling point, is just kind of going, hey, the average agent in Houston is down 22%. We've been up 50%, 6%. And primarily that was open houses and farming. Key lessons I learned was, as you're thinking about a farm, is think long-term. Again, at the end of that year, that first year, if I would have just gone, well, crap, that didn't work, I'm just going to throw it in the trash. I'll do Zillow, I'll do whatever, to get an additional lead source. It would have, think about 415, 300, you're talking about just in 3 years, $1 million of GCI would have left on the table because I gave up at that 1 year. So think long-term. Second thing is be consistent is the biggest thing I've learned. If you decide, hey, this is something I'm going to do, and here are all the little action steps of my marketing plan for my farm, be consistent with those and then stick to your plan. Each year, scale up, add a layer, however you want to do it, and to continue to increase your exposure. And one of the things I did for my farm that really helped me, I created a spreadsheet and I put every single real estate agent that has sold something in my neighborhood and where they ranked. And I go in at the end of every month and I look at it and I look at myself and I continue to go, how can I continue to climb the ladder? I've done that for 3 years. It took me 3 years to get to the point where, I could say I've done, I'm number one. And I'll say this too.
Because I don't know if you know or have ever heard of Kurt Wanabo out of San Diego. He was short sale Kurt during the short sale market in REO market, 2008 to 13. And he knew the shift was coming because he did his stats a lot. And so he said, I have to shift because short sales are going to go away and I got to have another business. And so he shifted to geo farming. And that was the number one thing he said he did, was go and research his competition. He knew every single agent in his farms that he started and what they sold, how they sold them, the amount that they sold. He knew everything about them. It was like he did recon on his competition. And just like you said, and then he would just start like chipping away at them. And it was really good. A couple of questions really quick. Sure. Lindsay says she's in California, but she can't wrap her head around how you can do 8 events and spend $45,000.
Yeah, that's actually a really good question. So let me get to the events and then I can tell you how much, because I got a whole slide on the events and examples of events I do. And I'll tell you how I spent the money and what it cost and all of that.
And Chantel asked, did you happen to buy any leads?
Not from a farming standpoint. That's a completely different lead source for us. Our team, we do pay-per-click pretty much only for what we buy leads for. And we'll get into process.
That. I'm going to ask you about the other stuff when you're done with the farm stuff. So,
but I don't buy any leads when it comes to farming at all. Okay. Let me go back here. Okay. So each year scale up. if I was starting brand new, I would not jump in with postcards from the get-go unless you have some money to burn, because it's going to take a while to see that. And this is my 2 cents, I would be doing more sweat equity things like open houses and putting up 50 signs in your farm every single weekend and hosting an open house every weekend and doing mega open houses. And I would do monthly market reports that are targeted through YouTube. I can't tell you how many times I've gone to a listing appointment, and because we see all your listings, we see all your market reports. And I'm like, it's 5 cents, whatever they call that. I don't know if it's a view or impression, whatever it is, but it's so cheap. I mean, perfect thing is I can do one market report, put $100 behind it. I'll get 12,000 views, and all the views come from in my farm. Where else can you do that? I can go spend $1,000 to get 2,000 cards, and how quick are they going to look at that card? I mean, I think they'll look at the YouTube longer. But that's just my 2 cents on that. I had to schedule my involvement in the community each day, week, month. Like, I had to do that. We have so many events that are happening in our community. That was a key lesson for me. Creating your Yvonne will like it. Creating your SOPs and just keep refining it. So we have an SOP for every event that we do. When we finish that event, we look at it. We go, what would we change? What we do differently next year? It gets filed away. It's time for the next event a year from now. We pull it back up, and we know exactly what we need to do, and we just start rocking. And then again, when it comes to marketing, I'm in Texas. Sorry, guns don't want to get, but if you're shooting a gun, the difference in a rifle is one shot, one target, one bullet. A shotgun is multiple, and that's the way I want to market when it comes to my farm. So that, to me, that was probably the biggest thing for me, is I didn't put all my eggs in one basket. I've got events, I've got open houses, I've got postcards, I've got the Facebook groups, I've got my volunteering. I'm going all over the place with that.
I love that analogy, because my husband always says, I have a shotgun in the house because if my wife needs to use it, all she has to do is put her back against the wall and pull the trigger, and she's going to hit something. It doesn't matter what it is. She's going to hit something.
Exactly. And then, I know it sounds crazy, but like, if you can be the one that gives more than anyone in the community, it's the hardest part. It takes the most time, but it really will help. And then the other thing I put in here is I personally would do, and I'll explain this, whoever asks the question, I would do more small events consistently rather than big events less frequently. Meaning, I started off doing this one event that cost me like $8,000, and it was a phenomenal event. We had a good turnout, but then I didn't do another one till like another 8 or 9 months. Whereas I'm continuing to do it. It's more even just the fact that I get to market that I'm doing an event. All right, we went through numbers. That I'm going backwards. Sorry, hang on. Actually, I better hop out of that second, because I went way back.
So
okay,
you do 8 events a year now.
We're now 10. Next year will be 11.
Okay, and then you're going to go over what your events are.
Yep. So so actually, it came out of COVID, of this idea of the pop-up event, because back in COVID, you could only drive through, you couldn't touch. So we did events where we set up a tent. And then they'd come. I think the first one, I can't remember the first one we did.
It was probably a pie giveraway at Thanksgiving or something.
Yeah, but you drove by to get it. And it was like, we're popping up a tent. So we called them pop-up events. This is basically what we had done: 8 pop-up events. We do 1 appreciation party, 2 seller seminars, 2 buyer seminars. And then we actually do that kind of one larger event. And then we started doing charity brackets. This says every quarter. We've done it now twice a year. Charity bracket, very hard to explain, but basically we do it on social media. Anyone in our neighborhood can pick a charity of their choice, and then we create a bracket that goes all the way down. Whoever wins the bracket on social media each week is a different, someone's going at someone else. They get a check at the end of the deal.
Who manages that for you?
So we were talking about this yesterday, because I saw Jimmy Macklin talking about it. My marketing coordinator she kind of helps out with social media, looks at it. We have a VA that actually does a phenomenal job. She's really more of a community manager. I mean, she does help out with their listings and all that stuff, but our full-time marketing director is the one that really oversees the whole Asana. I mean, everything's in Asana, the whole program. These are some of our events that we're doing. I mean, there's so many that I could jump into. This one,
Show us your screen.
oh, you're not seeing it. Oh, sorry, my
Yeah.
bad. Oh, well, there you go. That would not be helpful. Okay, there you go. These are some of the events. The Valentine's Day, we do a mini bouquets. We just create all these little mini bouquets, about 4 or 5 roses, mix them with some other flowers. All you have to do is RSVP. We're in the middle of the neighborhood. They just swing by, pick it up on their way home, give it to wife or whoever it might be. Our whole team comes in, myself included, and we just sit there that morning and make all these bouquets.
I just have a picture of a bunch of men in their trucks lined up.
and that's exactly what it looks like to the T. Holiday portraits, and so this is one where people think that costs a lot, but it really doesn't. So this one, last year, the first year we did it, we had 50 some families. Then it was 75. Last year we did 126. Basically, find a place in the neighborhood. I go on to a Facebook, and I stole, by the way, almost everything on here is R&D from someone. I'm trying to remember where I got it from. I think the only one we came up with was Mocha and Mimosas, which is actually one of our favorite events. But holiday portraits, basically, I went into a local photographer's Facebook group and said, hey, on November 6th, we're hosting an event. We want to give our clients, it's hard to explain all this, 3 to 5 free photos for their holiday Christmas card. We're paying $75 an hour. It's going to be for 3 hours. You're going to be shooting the entire time. Bring your Venmo, bring your whatever for them to tip you. Who wants it? We know this is not for everyone, but who would like to do it? Send us your portfolio. We'll get about 50, 60 applicants. My marketing director looks at them all, picks the best out. And then, I think this year we'll probably hire around 8. We then go into, so I do the math, 75 times 3 times 8. That's pretty much the cost of our event.
And then the clients, the people getting their pictures done, will give them their credit card and Venmo to buy the pictures.
So they can either buy them. We send them usually 5 free digital photos.
Okay.
And that's the sweat equity part of our side of it. And then we had custom frames built that say Happy Holidays from the Adams Group. We usually send that the first week of December. That's just like a gift for coming out with a printed photo of their deal.
You give them one photo and 3 or 4 digitals. That's included that you get in the $75 an hour.
Correct.
Interesting.
And then they can tip the photographer if they like, which they almost always get tips, and they can buy photos and additional photos from the photographer they'd like. And then we have a pop-up tent set up there with free snacks. And I bought a photo booth. I bought a karaoke machine. I bought a big sound system because we just do these so often that I used to pay for all those individually. I just finally bought it all, and we just bring it to the event, and it's kind of same thing, swag, all that stuff.
So interesting. This is like a theme that Amy Stockburger was talking about last month.
Oh, really?
Because she now owns like jumper houses and popcorn machines, and she has moving trucks, and she has all this stuff that's available to her as well as to her clients as well.
And it's not like I want to have the stuff, but it was just ended up being so much cheaper. Yeah. And actually what we do with the photo booth, because it's a super nice photo, it's like a $5,000 photo machine. I basically say to any of my clients, hey, if you're having a birthday party or whatever, you need a photo booth, and maybe the photo booth companies hate me, but I'm like, I created a video of how to put it together and do everything, and then they take it and use it for their party or whatever. But that event is our most, and here's a key too. Here's a fun little key way to help you out. So on all of our events, how we help compound effect this with our sphere is we give our sphere always, are you on our VIP list? Are you on our VIP list? They get VIP access just like you would for an open house or exclusive open house. They get VIP access to all of these things before we go to our farm with it. So like whatever event it is, like the pickleball tournament's coming up the 28th. And this is actually, our neighborhood's called Sienna. I had to write a $1,500 check to that, but then they run the whole thing. My name's just on it. But then they give me a couple little, I'm going to have a booth at the event. They're going to keep announcing it's there. It's going to be our neighborhood newsletter, whatever. But we sent an email out yesterday to just my database. Hey, if you want to get in on this, here it is. and the neighborhood doesn't know yet. Once we've given that timeline to my sphere, then we go into the Facebook groups. That's the main way we communicate all events, is into the Facebook groups. And then we do a save the date card for all of our events every quarter as one of our postcards that we do, which has all of our events. And then people want to be on your list because they want to come to the event. From the holiday portraits, I think Allison looked it up. I think we've gotten close to 10 or 11 listings from just the holiday portraits. In that event,
Great.
I don't know what the
You
math
said
is.
the Mochas and Mimosas is your favorite one?
Yes, because here's what it is. And we just did it. Do it every year. We rent out a coffee shop. So if you're like me, I have an 11, a 9, and a 7-year-old. When the first day of school happens, it is like, oh my gosh, they're going back to school finally. I'm excited. Like the house is free again. My wife and I go get lunch. So I took that enthusiasm of finally they're going back to school and going, we're going to rent out a coffee shop for 2 or 3. I think this year we did 3 hours. We have mimosas that we just buy the juice and the champagne. We sit outside with swag, the photo booth, fun music, champagne flutes. But then if anybody wants to go in and get a cup of coffee, they just have our tab. Crazy part is it's not that expensive. I mean, the line is out the door the entire time we're open to the entire time. For that 3 hours, we end up spending $600 or $700 because baristas can only make so many cups of coffee. So that event, besides buying the champagne and the orange juice, it's really not that expensive. It's usually $600 or $700. But you see all these parents come in and they're so excited and they're like, we're going to go grab lunch too. And we're so glad the kids are back, so you're really getting to honor these parents that are there. We picked up 3 listings this year, which we had never done any from that before at the event. Like I've already gone on the listing appointment and that was 2.5 weeks ago, 3 of them.
That's awesome.
So, and again, it's a compounding effect. I didn't have that happen my first, second, third year. It's just now we come to it every year. And so that's the fun part too, is when you start getting some of these great events that just become like a staple, people in your community go, we're going to that event. We go to it every year. And so the person who asked the questions about how much events cost, is there any event you see here or other ones that maybe you're thinking of that you think might be very costly that I could help you out with?
Actually, no, that you made it a lot easier for me to wrap my head around. I think you found a way to make it cost effective. So that's great.
Lindsay, you could totally do this in your market.
Yeah, for sure.
And in our other event we do just for our clients, which is not a farm, but depreciation event, that's actually most of our expensive event because we do food, we do, like a full on dinner, it's at a brewery, all that. But I end up getting 75% of it covered by our preferred title company, preferred lender, all that stuff. So that's another way if you're not getting into events. So if you're starting events, again, maybe don't start, start small and be consistent. How could you do that? Here's just some of the examples of postcards that we're running. We're actually doing 5,000 now. We've moved that up this year. That's some of the postcards that we've done. I kind of quit.
By the way, you guys are all going to get this slide deck. So
yes,
don't stress.
I kind of quit doing all the standard traditional stuff. I don't really do just solds. We sold, here's how we did it kind of thing. Or we've created other unique things, but these are just some of anytime we do an event, we do a card, or now we're doing quarterly because we're trying to do, these are the 4 events. Like this is card we just sent out at the end of July. We're doing Mochas and Mimosas. We already did that. We have the pickleball tournament coming up. We have Oktoberfest event coming up in October, and then we have the holiday portraits in November. But here's what I'll tell you too, on postcards, what I have learned, especially the ones that are like call to actions, like these home values, how much is your home worth, whatever, those tend to be like a long-term nurture thing. And it's just you hopping in. And so, perfect example, I had someone who scanned this, asked for a home valuation. I called them. I said, are you just curious? Are you actually potentially thinking about selling? I mean, there's more of the conversation than that. She's like, really just curious. What improvements have you done? I always do home valuations. I do a loom of me walking through the comps and explaining it because I'm going, hey, your house is sight unseen based on what you told me, whatever. And then she's like, hey, I think, but again, if I saw your house in person, I could probably give you a better estimate or whatever. So she goes, well, you know what? Actually, we are thinking about making a move, but don't know if it's right. I went to the listing appointment on Tuesday. and it looks like it's going to work. And I wasn't super pressuring, but most of the time it's not like that. Most of the time it's just a very long-term nurture of continuing to give value, keep them in your system, and continue to give them value, keep checking in on them. And that's how those tend to work. But
I love the simplicity of your postcards. They're very simple. There's not a lot of writing on there. There's not a lot of description. It's just simple. And this, first off, my first question is, what do you use for a home valuation product? Normally just use Sierra Interactive, which is our CRM, that you can just get one of those. But we just started, we're 6 months into Fellow. I don't know if you've heard of that. Yeah, I'm sure you have, Yvonne, and they have some better tools for that. So this QR codes lead to that right now. So those of you that don't know, there's three, in my opinion, freestanding products for valuations outside of the Sierra Interactive and the Ylopas of the world and all that. They are HomeBot, of course. They are Real Scout and Fellow, and they all those are and I set them from the cheapest to the most expensive. So HomeBot's going to be the least expensive, and then Real Scout, and then Fellow's going to be your bigger product. Usually, most of the time, teams find that more cost financially conducive than an individual agent would using Fellow, unless you're in a market that's, higher production or higher luxury market or something like that. But they're all three very good products, and you have to just learn to use them. Now, my second question is, do you do a QR code with signups or anything on your events card?
Yes. And I used to be really bad at that. And so we committed this year that for every single thing we do, we use flowcode.com. We have a different QR code. So then we need to do a better job of tracking where we're actually getting business from and how someone actually came through the front door of our business, however they got there. And that's the thing I was saying too, Yvonne, is like all these postcards. I'm trying to think of one where someone went, oh, I got this postcard, come to my house, I'm thinking about listing, one or two like that. But I've gone on appointments where I get there and they have a folder and there's a flyer from a school event I did. There's a postcard in there. It's like that. It's the shotgun effect. I don't know. It's just like all of it.
Almost every successful geographic farmer that I've ever met in my time in the industry, time in coaching, has said that exact same story. That after a certain amount of time that you've been just consistently going, you will go to somebody's house and they'll pull out all your postcards, or they'll, pull out everything. So it does work. And it's just consistency, as you said. This is great. I love the simplicity. And you guys, that website was called flowcode.com.
It freaked me out too. The first time I went to a listing appointment, I thought it was like a stalker or something, because he had that. He had some swag. He had some other stuff, but I don't know if you can, I can't remember if I did. Oh yeah, you can kind of see, this is a neighborhood block party in my niche area. So just, you could see, we threw this on. This one probably cost us $2,000. And it's super simple. It's pizza, it's DJs, it's swag.
So fun.
Balloon guy.
Face painters, train, balloons. Love it.
But yeah, I had like 150 some people come out from a 500 person neighborhood.
So Ryan, when you have an event like that, are you trying to capture personal information, and how do you do that?
Say that again.
When you have an event like the one you just showed us, are you trying to capture anybody's information, or is it?
Oh yeah, I didn't answer that question. On that one, I don't. On all the ones that I'm giving you something like Mocha, Mimosas, holiday portraits, whatever. When you sign in, you're going into it. You come in. There's a zap that sends you to our email. We use MailerLite for our mass email. You then go into our mass text database. You go into kind of our filter of databases, and then actually you're then going on our retargeting YouTube ads. We're going to start showing up a lot if you come to our events. And it's that and I didn't do that very well at first, but now it's like, hey, you want a free coffee? Just name, phone number, email, free coffee. No one has a
Where
problem
did
with
you
it.
go to learn the retargeting, or where did you send your VA to learn it? Because I'm assuming you are not like the mastermind on telling the team,
So
like, this is how you do technology.
So weirdly, for most things, I learned it myself. I mean, most anything social media, YouTube, it's just Jason Pantana. And then I learned it myself or sent a video, and then I just taught a VA how to do it. And so then every event, here's what we do. This goes to here, this goes to here, you know, whatever. Every listing, we're putting this in Google Ads, and we're targeting these lists and this community. It just becomes
it doesn't sound like it was overly complicated though. Like you sound, maybe it's just because you're really good at speaking and explaining it into simplicity for me, because that's how I learn. I mean, I've said I walk out of the room when Jason's talking because I can't, like, it overwhelms me, right? And so when you are doing that, are you just like a couple hours a week, like fiddling around on it, kind of like figuring it out, or?
Probably my process is like, all right, we want to target everyone who's come to our our events. How do we get their information? All right, well, figure that out. We got that. Now we got the list, and then I'll go to an event and here, all right, you can target that list directly, and then I'll just go down the rabbit hole of figuring out how to do it. Figure out how to do it, because I'd rather figure out how to do it and kind of have a little bit of insight into it, and then once I've got it, I just pass off. Best book I ever read in the last year is it called How to Win Back Your Time? Take Back Your Time? I forget the name of it. It's Blue Book, no. Dan Martell.
Buy Back Your Time.
Buy Back Your Time. That's what it is. And I think most of us in the real estate industry are perfectionists and are actually control freaks, and we have to do it our way, whatever. The biggest thing I learned in that book was like 80% done is better than you having to do all of it. And so that's more what I've done is like a lot of times I'll go to my VA and go, can you go research this, bring it back to me? Then I can put my little perfectionist, whatever process I want into it, and then delegate it fully out. But I don't know if that answered your question, Yvonne.
I'm looking at you, Lindley, because you're right underneath Ryan. And I'm looking at you as he's talking. Although you're in great company, because I know several of you on this call, and you're all very similar. So, Lindsay, no. So 80%. Okay. So I like that because I'm like, okay, go find out about it. Like I will go research it, figure it out to a degree, and then I will pass it on and say, now take this.
Same.
Yeah. Okay.
Same. Yep.
So, okay, that's awesome. So I unshared your screen. So what else you got on your slides?
All right, I'm gonna show you as much as I can in the time. Yeah. This is one that's really big. It's difficult and niche per neighborhood, or it's not niche. It's just case by case. But we do a lot of stuff on community groups, and a lot of the first off, if you don't have a Facebook community group for your farm, like we have 1 million, and I didn't start any of them. But if you don't have one, go start one, because that is killer to be able to have that. But we have so many.
You didn't start any yourself. You just joined the ones that were there.
I did. And most of them have very strong, because we have 500 realtors in our neighborhood, very strong rules about what you can post in there. So how I've learned to work around it is I think we probably have close to 10 to 15 groups. And some of them are wide open. You can do whatever. Okay. So obviously we do whatever in those, but the ones that are like the most strict, I first off built a relationship with the person who's the admin digitally through them and explained, hey, I'm not going to promote myself. Is it okay if I promote events that we're doing to serve the community? And so I got a yes on that. So any event I do, I can put it in that group. And again, like those groups total 10 to 12,000 people. And then, so did that, and that ended up being okay. That worked for events. But then the second thing was, hey, I'm going to do these market reports every month. I'm going to encourage people to use a realtor. I'm not even going to say use us. I just want our neighborhood to know what's happening with homes in the area, buying, selling, all that. But I'm not gonna. I promise I will not promote myself. It's just that. But guess what? We're all smart here. In doing that and providing value, you're promoting yourself, because if the guy who's giving you the information is telling you about the neighborhood, when you go to sell your house, who do you want to sell it with? The guy who knows, right? So it's kind of like ninja selling without. So those are the two biggest posts that I do. The scholarship, I do a scholarship once a year. The charity bracket, those do really well too. But yeah, we did that. And I just want to show you some examples. Like these come up all the time in our neighborhood groups. Whose realtors, don't hit me with the DM. People of Siena, who is a realtor selling homes here? Of course, and I have trained my clients with multiple gifts. Anytime they see something in Facebook that comes up asking who's the best realtor, these are all people I got listings from, because my clients come up and I can't tell you how many times they're going to list appointments. Again, I didn't know who the person was. How did you find out me? I just went onto a Facebook group and searched realtor, and your name was on all of these sites. So that's why you're here. I can't tell you how many times that's happened.
Do you respond to these like this, Noel Brown? You don't respond to them.
I don't put a word on there. But what I will do is I'll screenshot it and I'll shoot it off to some of my top referral givers who basically could call me and ask me for anything and I would give it to them. And they get, talk about that top tier, they get everything. Every swag thing I can get, I'm giving it to them. Every gift card I can give, I'm sending people on date nights away because they help this. This is a huge, like, I'm telling you right now, guys, like this is way under tapped. And I don't think other realtors are doing it, you know? And let me go back to this one thing real quick, because I want to give you just a little bit of hope too, because you're like, that just more talks about the update. If you go on my YouTube, if you just search Ryan Adams Realtor in YouTube, you'll see, you can look up all my marketing reports and see, you know, what I do, how I put them together and all that other stuff. But I just want to give you a little bit of hope for those of you that maybe you're starting in a farm or maybe you're not to this level yet. Cause at one point I was not here either. It's just like you know, all this stuff just seems like a lot, but I didn't start here. It was just continuing to add those layers. And as you do it, it's such a snowball, like it's such a compounding effect of you just continue to get, and then of course, if your sphere is there, it just makes it even better. I mean, I've got other things I can go into from my personal involvement to groups I sponsor. I mean, I've got so much stuff. It really, because it is. I mean, it's that much. I mean, it's hard to get all that in there. I also want to make sure I'm respectful for your time and respectful and answering the questions that you want to hear. But that is probably a grandiose view of it, as big as you could have of it.
That's great. And they're going to get the slides and the recording as well.
Yes.
I have a question about your YouTube. So
Sure.
Several on this call that I already know of, I have been kind of nudging to really dive deeper into their YouTube channel, or actually get rid of the one they have and create a whole new one.
Sure.
Who did you go to follow, to build out, or who do you follow to do what you do on YouTube and to make sure that it's getting the most views in pubs and targeting and all that?
So honestly, and I can show you this real quick. Honestly, I didn't go to anyone in particular. I've listened to a lot of different people on it. You have Jeremy Knight, who's very much like organic YouTube. Mm-hmm. And then you have Jason Pantana's a lot more paid YouTube. I really didn't start serious YouTube till probably beginning of last year, maybe even after Elite of last year. And what I've done is just basically gone, all right, it's just kind of like every month we have a flywheel. If you don't know what that is, it just tracks all your measurements. We look at all of our views, all of our comments, you know, what's the interaction we get. I have a VA that puts all this information together, and then once a week we look at it and then go, what do we need to do to adjust? What content is actually connecting with people? What's not connecting with people? We just started a third channel that's going to be more of an organic channel, and main purpose is just to see if that works. There's two things that I primarily do, and I build it in my schedule. So once a month, I batch out about 4 to 5 topics on real estate. Those we just leave to be organic. Once a week, once a month, I do a monthly market report. We do target those. And I can kind of show you just like what's happened to the channel. I mean, when I started in I'll tell you this, it's way slower than social media, but we see it's more compounding now, like, because we've got so much content on there. But we started really hard. I mean, probably last summer. And I mean, so I'm not like this fancy. I mean, I don't have these like amazing, whatever you want to call it, to look at like numbers wise, but this is our simple channel. When I started, we were at like 50 subscribers. Like I had barely any. I remember when we first hit 100, it was crazy. We're almost getting now at this point about 75 to 80 a month. We've done 415 videos, and you can see in our playlist, it's almost the exact same thing. Every time we do a listing, it gets a listing video and it gets targeted to our neighborhood. These are the ones that are like this just dropped. Wait, let me get, here we go, videos. These Ryan and Real Estates, that's the topics. I mean, you see some are getting like thousands and
like Ken Posick.
Yes.
His look. The thumbnails are super important. 1,000 followers or subscribers is like the magic number from what I've been told.
Yes. So we're almost there.
Yeah,
Yes.
you're almost there. And then I see you're doing 3-minute, 7-minute. You're not really doing like 20-minute long form video.
I haven't. And that's one thing we've talked. The only one I do that on is I have a little podcast that I do, and I have that one's like 50 minutes. That one will get on there.
Question from Lindsay, going kind of back to holiday photos. Do you have 8 photographers shooting at the same time, 8 backdrops, etc.?
No, there's no the backdrop is the neighborhood. I found a really beautiful spot in our neighborhood that that has this like kind of picket fence, lake behind it, and it lines, it's like on a trail. And so we just shoot up 1, 2, 3, 4. And so we give them stations. And then when they come in, you're at station 1. We'll take you over there. We have everybody actually sign up on Calendly, and we have 15-minute sessions. So 4 15-minute sessions, an hour. And in each 15-minute session, there's 8 spots. So then once they fill up, it sells out. They fill up, sells out. Again, we give that to our Sphere First VIP. That usually actually sells out about 50% of it. But then the other 50% we shoot out to the neighborhood.
Very good. Francis says you mentioned different channels. Can you explain?
Yeah, there's this theory out there that if you spend money to get views, then they'll stop showing organic stuff because they're like, oh, you're already going to spend money. We're not going to show you stuff till you spend it. So we're A/B testing it right now. Jeremy Knight, if you follow him, you can look him up. He does everything organic. He's very big on the big headlines or neighborhood spotlights, which we're starting to implement now, which we haven't done really good at. So I'm not the best on YouTube, but it does help in my farm. I'll tell you that significantly.
That's my segue for next month's
there you go.
series with Aaron Chuha and YouTube. So very good. Ryan, this was fantastic. Thanks for being here. Thanks for coming to these. I'm going to keep doing them as long as at least one person shows up.
Do I get the official invite to the next one too, so I can come watch as well?
You betcha. You betcha.
Okay.
Yeah,
I will email you, and I'll email you the slides this afternoon.
Yeah, send me the slides, and then we'll be sending out the recording to everybody by probably Monday.
Perfect. And
All
if
right.
you guys, if you want to ask any other questions or whatever, just look me up on Instagram, the Adams Group TX, and shoot me a message, and I'll be glad to answer any question, help you as much as I can, because lots of people have helped me get where I'm at. I'll be glad to help as much as I can.
Thank you so much, Ryan.